It is that time of the year, folks, where I am going to do my top 10 albums of the year for your viewing pleasure. I'm going to do some honorable mentions, and I'm going to do the top 10 in order. Even though the order is slightly arbitrary, I decided to order them anyway. I will say this. This was a tough year for me to really spend a lot of time with new music. With the store, I'm always listening to music at the store from the store. So I don't have as much time as I usually do to really dig into my picks this year. That being said, there were 10 albums that were phenomenal. Definitely some albums worth mentioning as well, and I'm going to share them with you, but I'd also love to know what you loved, because I'm sure I missed a ton of it. So leave a comment below with your favorite albums of the year or your thoughts on mine, and let's get started with my picks. This would also be a good time to say please subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Hit the subscribe button, and you can also hit the bell next to it. Turn it on to always on notifications so you don't miss out on any videos I put out, because there's going to be a lot of good ones next year. All right, let's start off with some honorable mentions, right? Harry Styles' Harry's House was a great pop record. Didn't crack my top 10. I only listened to it a few times, but I really did enjoy it. I kind of fought the Harry Styles thing for a while, and I'm not like a hater of pop music. I just wasn't really trying to get into it that hard. And then I really liked Watermelon Sugar from his last record. I was like, okay, he's pretty good at pop, sure. And then everyone was losing their mind about this new record. So I listened to it, and I liked it so much I actually got the record, which is somewhere in this room. I just can't find it right now. But solid record. Black Thought and Danger Mouse's Cheat Codes, another great hip-hop release. There was a ton of killer hip-hop this year. You're going to see a bunch of it on my top 10 list, actually. But this didn't quite crack the list, and that's because it felt a little average for me, despite having some incredible beats from Danger Mouse and obviously Black Thought being a top-tier MC. For some reason, they kind of canceled out and became boring versions of themselves comparatively to other projects of theirs. Maybe that's a hot take. It is a great record, but it just wasn't enough to make me really blown away. Like the first time I heard Run the Jewels 1 and my mind exploded with that duo, this didn't quite do the same thing for me. The debut album by The Smile, which is the first record by Johnny Greenwood and Tom York of Radiohead. I am a huge Radiohead fan, so obviously you think I would love this. It would be in my top 10. And while I do enjoy the record, I've listened twice now, and it hasn't really asked me to come back for a third yet. I've been underwhelmed despite enjoying the listen. It was a good album again, not top 10 worthy for me, and maybe this is the definition of a grower. I need to spend more time with it, but for now, it just kind of made me want more Radiohead. Tears for Fears, The Tipping Point. I love Tears for Fears. They are probably a top 3 band of the 80s for me. So to come back with an album like The Tipping Point was very impressive. It didn't quite capture me the way that the 80s albums do, and even Elemental, which was an album that came out shortly after that. But this album was really good and definitely worthy of mentioning. If you haven't thought about Tears for Fears in a while, they're back and worth your ear. Death Cab for Cutie, Asphalt, Meadows. I am a huge fan of Death Cab. It's no surprise to anyone on this channel, and I've been a little checked out for a bit. I think the last record of theirs I really enjoyed was Kintsugi. A bunch of the stuff they've done after that has been fine, but not really registering on my radar. This album kind of harkens back to the songwriting from the Transatlanticism era, which I really loved, but they're incorporating a lot more of the kind of glitchy elements of their modern records in a really nice way, and I think this is a beautiful listen front to back. It doesn't crack the top 10, but you should definitely hear it. Dashboard Confessional's new record was also very good, kind of in the same vein as Death Cab, where I really love a lot of Dashboard stuff up to a point, and then at some point I kind of just lost a little interest. Their last record before this wasn't really doing it for me, but this one is also a return to form songwriting-wise. It reminds me of the early Dashboard records. I thought it was a really nice listen. And then the Queen of Pop, Carly Rae Jepsen, The Loneliest Time. This was a terrific listen that almost made it into my top 10, but there was just so much good stuff that it just edged it out. She doesn't miss, and while I do miss the high production pop of the Emotion era, I do like that she's kind of keeping us on our toes and expanding her sound, with this album diving a little bit into folk at times and even a little bit into disco at times. She really is just so impressive, and I can't wait to see where her career continues to go. All right, we're at the top 10. Let's hit it. Number 10 is Neutral Milk Motel by Televangel and Milc. This is one of the best hip-hop projects of the year, bar none, and I am honored that I had a chance to press this on my Too Many Records label. Now, it's not on this list to sell copies. No. You missed your chance. I was talking about it for the month it was up for pre-order. It is now done. It is officially out of print before it is officially printed. I don't know if there's going to be another pressing or not, but I really hope you did not snooze on how good this tape is. It's hard to not draw comparisons from Milc to Action Bronson. They have a kind of similar cadence, similar kind of flow in terms of how they rap and what they rap about. Milc also loves to rep Portland, where he's from, and that's why he collaborated with Televangel, who is from Blue Sky Black Death. Televangel has worked with a ton of great hip-hop artists, from modern people like AJ Suede to some people like Nacho Picasso, 10 years ago. He really knows how to build beautiful beats for rappers, and this album is no exception. It is a beautiful mix of lush and grimy in all the best ways, and this tape is an absolute joy to listen to, so I hope that you were able to grab a copy. I actually showed this tape to a few people that aren't really into hip-hop, and they all really enjoyed it, which is a great sign. Accessibility while also having the cred from fans of the genre, that's a hard thing to do. Number 9, we have Kendrick Lamar, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. This is just objectively a great record, albeit a little bloated at times. While it often captured that emotional aggression that was prevalent all over To Pimp a Butterfly, I really don't think it quite reached the level of cohesion that To Pimp a Butterfly had. There are some genuinely great songs on this album, but as a whole, I haven't really been compelled to go back and listen to it more than the 2 or 3 times that I heard it this year. It's weird when you're left feeling impressed, but you're not really jonesing to go back, and that's kind of what Kendrick did on this record for me. It's a great listen, but it's not always the most enjoyable listen, if that makes sense. Kendrick is a true artist and one of the greatest in hip-hop history. He has cemented that position well before this record, and this record only continues to make that true. But I sometimes wish that Kendrick would drop something a little less emotionally and thematically heavy and just kind of go back to something that has good storytelling like Good Kid, Mad City, but also is great to throw on at any given time. Maybe the next project. I have the record, it's somewhere in the room. I think I got the web store exclusive. I think it was like a tan record or something. Number 8, we have Beyonce's Renaissance. Now this was a killer album. Immense sonics on this record, but danceable with style. It's not just a bunch of soulless club bangers. Beyonce wouldn't do that to us. Emotional, raw, pulsing, effervescent. This album is very impressive to me. Although it's still somewhat of a situational listen. I don't know if I would throw this on at any time. It's definitely not a chill record, although Beyonce records don't tend to be. This is one of her best full projects to date, and I think on first listen, this was my favorite of any of her projects from the first listen. Her projects are often growers, and I feel like I'll need to spend more time to know exactly where this lands in the discography, but it's definitely gonna be top 3. Number 7 is the Wonder Years, The Hum Goes On Forever. I'm a bit late to the Wonder Years party. I discovered them not long after Sister Cities came out, which was the album prior to this. Then I did a deep dive, and I ended up loving just about everything. As a huge pop punk fan, I have no idea how they eluded me this long, but I'm glad I'm here now. This album does feel like a continuation of the sound that they were pioneering on Sister Cities, which is in no means a bad thing to me. Every song was super catchy and memorable, and it actually holds together as a really cohesive piece as well. This is the best pop punk record of the year without question, and I love this variant. It's so pretty. It matches the cover so nicely. Number 6 is Sudan Archives Natural Brown Prom Queen. She is a violinist that has decided to make the most chaotic and beautiful music possible, spanning all kinds of genres within one album alone. I discovered her, and I mentioned this in a previous video a couple months ago. Someone traded in 2 of her EPs to the store, and I listened to them, and I was like, oh my god, these are amazing. Such beautiful listens. This album takes it to a new level, though. Sonically brilliant and unique, very textured, and immediately captivating from the first song. It really keeps you guessing throughout the album what kind of sound she's going to have next, and she does a great job of that with some absolutely breathtaking moments punctuated by this really upbeat, chaotic stuff that makes it a very enjoyable listen that never gets boring. Immediately gripping, put this on your radar, and I'm so excited to see where she goes because this is pretty early on in her career still. I also decided to go with the pink variant, which matches the hair on the cover. I thought that was a fun touch. Number 5 is Denzel Curry, Melt My Eyes, See Your Future. While he is rising in fame every single year, I still think he is extremely slept on and underrated by the masses. This album should have changed that, but I still think not enough people listen to and know Denzel Curry. This is the best and most accessible beat work and production from his career thus far, along with a laser-focused flow that stays consistent throughout the entire record. What's interesting is that I think this is a great entry point into his career, and also is showcasing him at arguably his best. This is probably my favorite Denzel project to date, and I'm really excited to see what he does next, because he continues to change his sound every single project, which I love. And the Obi strip is super nice, as well as this really pretty marbled smoky variant that they have going on. I love it. And at number 4, we have Saba, Few Good Things. Wow. That's all I can say when I first heard this record. I don't know if there was an album on this list that immediately hooked me as hard as this one. It's a lush, incredibly chill addition to Saba's already extremely good catalog. This album might have solidified him as one of my favorite rappers. Bucket List Project really blew me away, and then Care For Me really kind of propelled him even further into the public consciousness, especially with Vinyl Me Please doing a variant of it. I liked Care For Me a lot, but I liked Bucket List Project more. This one, I think, has potential to be his best record to date. This project has immediacy, and it really feels different than the other two records. I found myself uncontrollably just moving along with this record, and I had a big goofy smile on my face for most of it, because his wordplay is immaculate, and everything he did on this was just an absolute sonic joy. There was an onslaught of beautifully crafted beats, song after song after song. This is the hip-hop project of the year. And I got that Green Web Store exclusive. All right, top three. Coming at number 3, we have Lights, Pep. This is my favorite pop album of the year for sure. I got to go see her live earlier this year and it was a killer show for sure. Lights is just so cool. She's so cool. She usually releases an acoustic companion to a lot of her records, which is a very unique thing that she does, and I appreciate that. And I often tend to like the acoustic version more than the kind of poppier version. But this is just a masterpiece. The single, Prodigal Daughter, Spotify said was one of my top played songs of the year, and the opening track, Beside Myself, is one of the most beautiful songs of the year without question. The fact that she can have such beauty and then such intense pop danceable energy like really close to it in the album shows how masterful that she is at constructing a narrative from the beginning to the end of a project. Just a truly enjoyable listen from such a consistent queen. And I got the blue variant. Coming up at number 2, we have Gang of Youths, Angel in Realtime. I'm also late to the party on these guys. They have a few releases up till this point, and I just discovered them this year. I knew I would like this band when the lead singer said that his favorite band is also The National. Well, if you take The National's sound and you kind of mix it with U2 style production, really high production, as well as Bruce Springsteen-esque songwriting telling stories, this is what this album is in a nutshell, while not really encroaching on any of the territories as if it was like copying it. This is a concept album about the death of the singer's father. It's a very emotionally heavy record. Lyrically, it's beautiful, and the sounds, the composition of each track are absolutely angelic at almost every point. This was my intro to the band, and I actually went back to their previous record, and I might even like it more than this one. This is a band that's super on my radar now, and I had tickets to their show this year, and they unfortunately canceled the leg of the tour. I'm hoping I get a chance to see them live because they seem like they would be an incredible live show, and this is a band that if you have not given a chance yet, dive in. And number 1, my number 1 album of 2022 is Ants From Up There by Black Country New Road. I gotta be honest, their last record, I really couldn't get into. I tried to listen to it multiple times. Every time I was like, it's just not for me. I bailed after one track. It just didn't hit. I didn't like how loud and noisy it could be. It just wasn't something that I was truly enjoying. This album changed everything. It has this weird, uncanny feeling of being so familiar and comforting, while simultaneously having moments of intense discomfort and also not sounding like anything that I can really think of in the past few years, if at all. If I had to make comparisons, which I've thought about, I really can think of 2 things. One, it has the whimsical kind of lyrical elements of Neutral Milk Hotel, kind of these puzzling, honest, and strange lyrics, and also some of the sonics of early Arcade Fire. But it stands apart from both of those bands. The lyrics on this album are brutal, honest, and real. And the compositions range from really jazzy to really intense and in your face. I'm really sad the lead singer left the band due to mental health issues because I would have loved to have heard this album performed live. Maybe one day I will. But this was my favorite album of the year, and I really hope you'll give it a chance if you haven't heard it yet. I got the Rose Crystal variant, which I think is super pretty, and I love that it came with the Obi strip because it was, I think, a Japan exclusive. All right, guys, that's it. Those are my top 10 albums of the year, and I would love to know, like I said in the comments, what you think of any of these and also your picks. A lot of great music came out this year. I didn't even mention King Gizzard, who released, I think, 3 records this year, maybe even more, because they're just getting too much to handle. I love the guys, but man, slow down. Let us sit with some of those projects. It is just too much at once. But I'm sure you guys have some thoughts on that. So leave the comments below. I look forward to chatting with you guys about what you loved this year. And I have a lot of good stuff planned for 2023. So thanks for sticking with me. And more coming soon. Take it easy.